And it's lights out and away we go!
What's up, guys and girls, and welcome back to the GT UK F1 podcast. I am joined by David.
Hey, everyone.
So, land of cowboys and...
Cheerleaders.
yes. Or, in other words, quarter.
Back to Coda. As I'm calling it, the Las Vegas warm-up act.
Yeah.
Because you know that all the stuff they put on there, they're going to dial up to 11.
Yeah, they will do. And...
But it was a sprint weekend. It was I wouldn't say the most interesting race we've had. It had a bit of a sting in the tail afterwards. Which I'm sure we'll get onto in good time. But the one joy is, because of timing of day, I actually got to see quite a lot.
yeah.
It's a bit of a rarity for me, but...
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of a bugger, because obviously the Sunday night I was involved in a stream, and somebody didn't think that through with it being a fat day. It was like 8 o'clock. An 8 o'clock race. It was like...
You had to watch it afterwards.
I did, so I didn't get to vote for like the driver of the day like I normally would.
You see, folks, his dedication to you. He'll give up watching a live race in order to be with you guys. I think he should be touched at that. I think he deserves a round of applause there. I would when my soundboard doesn't work when we're in this room.
And it's... See, I didn't mind watching the rerun.
No, I was something to get used to, because like I say, timing-wise, it's not always feasible for me.
Yeah, I mean... Well, I did have the race on my mobile, but, you know, I was looking down every so often, but I couldn't really focus on it. But that's why I watched the build-up beforehand. And, yeah, but honestly, I wish I'd have missed it.
Yeah, it's not going to go down as a great.
No.
I will say that.
No, it wasn't, you know, there was a lot of things involved. See, I kind of...
Oh, that's why. Okay. I've now worked out why it was Adam Driver doing all that stuff before the race, because he's in the Ferrari film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Him, Penelope Cruz, and Charlene Woodley, whoever that is.
Oh, right, okay. And the other quick news I wanted to get on to before we get into like practice or whatever was they had one of the part. I don't know if some of the others were there, but they had some of the Alpine Consortium.
Well, yeah, the new guys, Anthony Joshua and one or two others have bought the team out, haven't they?
Yeah.
Because you got his message to Pierre, I think it was to Pierre before the race.
And yeah, I mean, okay, fair play to Alpine, but are they struggling that much?
Well, considering one car didn't exactly do brilliantly in the race, did it? To be fair, they managed to avoid running into each other, which is quite well going for the Alpine boys.
Yeah. But no, I just did wonder because, you know, are they struggling financially?
I don't know. Let's not forget F1's an expensive thing to do. You know.
Did we ever hear?
I believe it was the great Frank Williams who said, how do you make a small fortune from motorsport? You start with a big one.
Yeah. I mean, did we hear any more back about this Andretti business?
No, reading between the lines, it sounds like a lot of the teams are quite against it. I think because they're worried that it's going to be an extra team taking money from the prize pool.
Yeah, but the fact is, they've still got to, like we've said before, they've got to pay $200 million to get in.
I mean, like I said, It's hard to say. I think the sport, given all the chances, would like more teams, especially a team that's bringing a new manufacturer in.
I think I know what it is. I think if it was 2 new teams, I think they probably wouldn't be against it. Because it's only the one, it then goes to 11, so it odd numbers it.
Well,
If
it's going to be an even number of cars. It'll be 22 cars, isn't it?
Yeah.
Assuming they run a 2-car team, which you've got to assume they will, because
Well,
I don't know if the rules don't allow you to run 3 cars, or whether just nobody's ever tried to do the expense of it, but...
Not allowed to run 3 cars anymore.
Nah, fair enough. But
No, because they wouldn't be allowed to, because if you think about it, look at what happened look at what happened with Williams and the spare car incident.
yeah, but that's a bit different to... If you could sign up to the season and say, I'm going to run 3 cars, then that's when you've signed up saying I'm only going to run 2 and then pull a third one out, I understand why that gets you
Yeah, but
foul of the law.
But I think it would still kind of go under that same rule.
It probably would, because I'm pretty sure if they could, someone like Red Bull would have tried running 3 cars by now.
Yeah.
But no, to answer your question, I think it's just going back now. It's just down to the business people to hammer out contracts.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. Like I say, I hadn't heard...
What's your thoughts? Would you like to see Andretti and Cadillac in, or?
To be honest, yeah. I would.
Hmm.
It's another team. Yes, another team, couple more drivers. And
I must admit, as much as daftly maybe sounds, I'm all for growing the sport in America, because I think that can only be a positive thing. Bring more money in, especially, I mean, America kind of has to, not exactly been glorious. You've had the moments, but nothing amazing. So I think if America had the chance of a team, you know what the USA's like when it gets behind something.
Yeah.
I can only see that as being a positive thing for the sport.
Yeah, as long as I know we've got 3 American races now, but I hope we're not gonna lose the European side of things.
Well, we're not, are we? Still, let's be honest. Unless there's such a massive switch around that all the European-based teams all decide to bugger off to America.
Because you've just got the light.
At the moment, there's only Haas who are really US-based.
Yeah.
Most of the other teams are British, with the exception, really, of Red Bull, who are classed as Austrian.
But yeah, they have a factory in Milton Keynes.
Yeah, it's the way it goes, a lot of them. But I don't think you're ever in danger of that. I mean,
no, I
it's
meant
that old joking. It's like America had the World Series of baseball for many years. Only America ever entered it, but it was still the World Series.
Yeah, but it was more European tracks. You know what I mean? It's more losing the European tracks.
I don't think we could get many more in America. Please don't forget, we've got a long list of tracks who want to host F1 races anyway.
One tried and failed foul.
Which one are you on about now?
Kyle Army.
Yes. What's more to other thing of it? I forget what the calendar for next year, whether China's back or not.
I believe so. I believe China is coming back next year. According to the calendar, anyways.
So, we've got plenty. We're still... And plus, I'm not really sure how many more US tracks are out there that are...
Formula 1 friendly.
Yeah, what do they call it? They call it FIA Class 1 or something, don't they?
Yeah. Get them round going... Get them round bloody Daytona.
Laguna Seca. Because you try to FF1 cars down the corkscrew.
Yeah.
There's perhaps the likes of Watkins Glen. But it's a lot of years since that hosted F1. I am really not sure.
I think
that track is in right now.
I've got to say, even that a push. I mean, Coulter coming back across, Coulter wasn't in the best condition by the looks of it.
Well, no, it's It got recently resurfaced, didn't it? It looks like they got something horribly wrong when they did it.
Yeah. Because, like, moving on, I don't know. Did you see you saw practice one?
I saw most of it, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think I was doing other things, but I had it on in the background.
And
Our only practice session, because of course sprint weekend.
yeah, and I mean, the track did look bumpy. I mean, I know a couple of the drivers have come out and said since, likes of Lando, and they've also mentioned the Drivers Association, whatever the hell they call themselves.
That driver union that Russell runs.
Yeah, basically of having discussions about the state of that track, and if they were to resurface the track, not to resurface it in a braking zone.
Well, one thing I didn't realise, they've done the old, like, it's almost the old British trick, 'cause it's built on marshland. Obviously reclaimed, which, I mean, you know yourself, we've got a couple of marsh roads around here.
Yeah.
And you know what they're like.
Oh, yes.
So you're always going to be fighting. If you're trying to build on marshland, you're always fighting that. So, because this is the land moves.
Yeah, I mean,
to me, bumpy circuit, I always go by, and it's a silly saying, but it's the same for every driver. The circuit's bumpy, just, you're supposed to be one of the best drivers in the world. You've just got to try and deal with it.
But there is a point I'll make later on.
Well, what's wrong going to say?
That was just to do with a couple of things back in relation to the circuit.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So practice one, I must admit, I can't remember a lot of the results or anything. It obviously stood out that well for me. I think it was then when they first, it was Stroll's braking issues, wasn't it?
Yeah. I really should have. I mean, I never look into practice. You know what I mean? I don't look into the practice times.
Oh no, because you never know what teams are doing, cars are doing. If you read practice, if you take practice as gospel, then all kinds of things, Yuki would have won a race this year.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Max. It was Max and Leclerc and Hamilton.
Hmm.
And then Perez. And then K-Mag was in like 5th. I mean, the Haas, it was weird because the Haas did show potential, but then so did the Ferrari.
I wonder if it turned out to be the wrong decision what they did. I mean, I'll mention that in the race because it's skipping ahead. So after practice, the only other thing to mention was Oscar had a bit of a spinning moment? Or a near spin?
Near spin, but it was where he went off.
I honestly can't recall that, so must be when I wasn't paying attention.
If he hadn't recovered, he'd have been in the barrier, put it that way. I mean, he got a proper tank slapper on. And it was just like, yeah, there's a barrier there. He did very well because he was flying at the point he got the tank slapper.
Well, these guys are supposed to be good.
But he's only a rookie. You got, okay. I mean, can you call him a rookie? But he's still a rookie.
I'm afraid anybody in their first season is a rookie. To me, your first season, you're a rookie. I don't,
Anybody in their first season who is still a rookie.
That's why Alonso won that young driver test about 3 years ago.
But managed to win a sprint race.
I've told you, one of the things where I am so gutted for Lando. Because he has been so close on so many occasions, and to watch his teammate go and do it.
Yeah.
Proving that the car is capable. And yet somehow Lando always the bridesmaid.
Yeah. But it's...
He'll get a win. No, he will get a win, but He's had so many near misses at this point. It's like,
Yeah.
Poor guy just needs a bit of luck to go his way.
But it's just he outshone Oscar basically when he won the sprint. It's like a kind of a bit of a middle finger to I'm to Sargent. It's like, well, yeah, I'm a rookie.
Yeah, but you've got to compare the cars as well.
Oh, the Williams is shite.
I mean, Albon is outperforming that car by a mile.
Oh, we know that.
Which is something Albon's been good at for the last couple of years. So I kind of... Sargent, to me, he's not done brilliant this year. I think I've said this a couple of times already. But at the same time, I have to give him some points in that the car is... I mean, stick him in the Red Bull and I think he'd be a lot further forward.
Yeah. So...
But that's one of those, and the debate's going to rattle on. He's confirmed for next season, is he not? Or is his the last seed that's still not confirmed?
I
at this point can't remember. I know there's one.
Yeah, I think Sargent still hasn't.
That's the one car that isn't. Yeah, Williams. This list I'm seeing here from motorsportmagazine.com.
From like September.
August, but last updated today apparently. The list gives us everything confirmed apart from the last Williams seat.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, you got Sargent there, or you got someone like Liam Lawson.
Be a step backwards. And would Williams have the cash to take him out of his reserve contract?
Yeah, but at the same time, look at it from Red Bull's point of view. Somebody else trains him.
Yeah.
Let him sit a couple of years in the Williams, build a bit of experience, then either bang him in the AlphaTauri or hell, straight into the main Red Bull if he can show any promise.
Well, there is that.
I've said it before that, Red Bull, Albon's links with Red Bull to me are why he'll never get a Mercedes seat.
It's just because he's got that sponsorship, and he brought that. The problem was that Red Bull sponsorship came with him from DTM.
Well, to me, that means that he wouldn't get. But okay, he was a Red Bull driver for F1 before he went to DTM.
Yeah, he was a Red Bull. He couldn't hack it.
But to me, that's not thinking, and that would be the same with Lawson. I think even if you claim to have left, I'm not sure if you'd be given a seat in the top Merc.
No.
If you had links to the opposition. But, like I say, if Williams needed somebody who probably won't be too expensive because he's not exactly got the experience to demand high money. Like I say, from Red Bull's point of view, I'd let him go fairly cheap because, yeah, you guys have him on a 2-year deal. For not a lot of money, all gone, take him. You train him up, but make sure you leave a clause in the contract that you get first refusal back on him at the end of the 2 years.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Or put him out on loan for 2 years.
Well, that's the other option. I'd just put out, whatever the F1 equivalent of the football free transfer is. Yeah, here's a 2-year deal. Go drive for them for 2 years, but you come back to us before any new fresh contracts signed. And assuming he shows similar sort of form to what he showed in the AlphaTauri, which itself is not an amazing car, then I think he'd be in a really good position to, say, at least jump into the AlphaTauri. Say, if not, perhaps you may be thinking the end of Perez's career by then.
Yeah.
But that's just my thoughts on the matter. I don't know. Like I said, this is going to run on and on and on until an announcement is made.
Well, yeah. I thought they would have announced something by now. But
The fact they haven't either means they haven't got anything, or they're not wanting, or there's something big that they're not wanting to make public just yet. Or perhaps they're not wanting. The only way I can see it is you don't want to announce you're replacing a driver too early. Because where's that driver's motivation come from if he knows he's out at the end of the season? Because let's be honest, if it was announced tomorrow that Sargent isn't driving for Williams,
you'd give
every
up.
other seat's taken.
Yeah.
So he's no chance of getting an F1 drive next year.
Yeah.
So where would your motivation be to actually try and perform well for a team are just dropping you?
Well, we've seen that happen.
Oh, we have, yeah, 100%. I'll be honest, there's a couple of teams where I think it needs to happen, but for various reasons it doesn't.
Pray tell.
I think Aston Martin need to drop Stroll.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. That's why I understand why it hasn't happened and the difficulties there, but I honestly believe.
I'm sorry, but I mean, I did watch the full. I watched the highlights of the race, but then I watched the full thing back. I watched some of the media pen stuff, which I do,
Yeah.
Stroll's demeanor in the media pen at the moment is shocking.
I think his head's down, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's very. I don't want to use the word brattish. He's very, very.
He's currently being shown up by his teammate who's a damn sight older than him.
Well, yeah. But
he's probably got everybody saying the same things we're saying.
I mean, it probably didn't help that maybe the fact he did see the fact that the organisers backed up and put Felipe Drugovic's picture up instead of his.
That's a bit like when Zhao was accidentally announced by an Alfa Romeo dealer in Shanghai, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oops.
If that had come out then that he's actually driving next year, wow, that would have been a ball. But the thing, what I want to know is, that means for some reason there are pictures of Drugovic in Aston Martin uniform.
Felipe Drugovic is the reserve anyways.
Yeah, but that means the pictures have been done. Why would that picture have even been made if they didn't think they were going to use it?
Yeah, I know.
You get what I'm saying? Why was that picture a thing?
Don't know.
But to me, just 1 second, leave me out. You drop Stroll, stick Mick in that car alongside Alonso.
Alonso would get him sorted.
A year or two in there, Hamilton steps back.
Mick moves in.
You've a second driver to back George up.
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from with that?
Yeah. I agree with what Mercedes did to Mick and put him as a reserve. I agreed with that.
I agree because the Haas wasn't the right place for him.
No.
I also, there's a combination of things that happen with him, and we've gone way off topic. I love this, but
I know.
I am not doubting his driving skill, but perhaps his name wrote a check.
Yeah.
That he wasn't quite ready to cash.
Oh, the problem was he was very, very dominant within the F2 series.
Yeah, but any other driver who'd have come into the sport as he did would have gone. It was a fairly steady rookie season. Sargent. It was a fairly steady rookie. I mean, your old favourite guy Nikita was a rookie at the same time.
Which was
he outperformed Nikita,
but he had a lot of accidents.
But the problem was the surname.
Yeah.
there was an instant added
pressure.
pressure and expectation.
Yeah.
Which is a bit unfair, but that's the world.
I still think Haas made the frigging mistake. They made the mistake that they had 2 rookies in the car.
Yeah, no, that's why I've said what I just said.
Yeah.
Alonso and Mick.
Yeah.
I think that lineup would be dynamite.
If Mick could get his head down and
Learn a bit off Alonso, learn off a 2 times world champion.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind he's got a 7 times world champion at home, but
yes,
we all know the backstory of that, which I'm not going to
no,
drag through the system again.
We also know that 7-time world champion just doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want to drag that story through again, but that's the point I'm trying to raise, is that I think a year or 2 in there
with Alonso
would be what he'd need to settle him down. And like I say, by that point, Hamilton goes off to, I don't know, save polar bears or whatever his project of the week is. George, by that point, will be the number 1 Merc driver. I think he's got a strong case of saying he's now, but someone like Mick in as the number 2 as the second driver.
Yeah.
I think he'd fall into that role pretty well. Anyway, back to practice. We got sidetracked there.
Well, it'd be quali now.
But yeah, we've talked for that long. I'm surprised it's not the race.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was main. This is where I hate this new layout that we do quali for Sunday on Friday, and then quali for Saturday on Saturday. I'm sorry, I just don't like this whole jumping.
Yeah.
I still like it where the sprint set the grid for the race.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that setup, but I'm just grumpy old man yelling at cloud.
Yeah, I kind of hope that they perhaps drop this system, because I just don't think it works.
I told you what I would do. Go back to the old system where the sprint sets the race.
Yeah.
But you have to start the race on your tyres from your second set of the qualifying for the sprint. You know how they used to do it? You had to start the race on the size you quali 2 in.
Yeah.
Do that, because you would then get this thought of, do you push hard to do well in the sprint, or do you maybe go for a better race tyre, maybe jeopardising your sprint position slightly?
Yeah.
And you'd have that, because there's one thing, and as much as you like it or dislike it, one thing Qatar gave us was, when the strategy gets thrown open, we get some interesting racing.
Yeah.
Because when the strategists are allowed to mess around and have more than one, well, this is the quickest way of doing it, that's when we get excitement.
Yeah. The thing that kind of balls me and all is when qualifying ends up getting run on hard. You know, you've got to use the hards, you've got to use the mediums, you've got to use the softs.
I'm against that, because it stops, as I said before, it was like, to me, it was always like someone like Albon would, at the end of Q2, throw a set of softs on, go balls to the wall, and suddenly pop up in the middle of the top 10.
Yeah.
You know, and he removes that. It's like, because without that, you're basically, short of any minor errors, you're just going to get a procession of the cars in the order you expect. As they say, variety is the spice of life, so...
Yeah, it's just, like I say, it's just very, very...
It ends up quite procedural.
Yeah, it does.
And let's be honest, if it wasn't for Max running off the track, we'd have had a very standard grid. Now, as it was, it didn't make that big a difference in the grand scheme of things, but there you go.
No. And obviously Aston Martin had their brake issues. There's some more brake issues in qualifying.
Well, yeah, was it the brake issues that led to them changing Alonso's car? Because they basically put Alonso, but this is jumping into race. We'll go back to this in the race, because this is race stuff. with sprint day to talk about first.
Yeah,
We'll leave it. I'll bring it back up when we
yeah.
talk about the actual race.
So yeah, qualifying was a bit blasé. It was a bit, I don't know, just this whole weekend in general was just like,
Yeah, it's not going to go. It's not going to go down as an epic for the ages.
no. Then obviously you go to then you went to sprint qualifying on the Saturday. You know, not a lot happened really, apart from the likes of Russell getting a free place grid penalty for impeding.
When Stuart Leclerc passed his verdict.
Yeah, that was actually quite funny that he come out with that, and it was just like,
Yeah, penalty for Miss Leclerc. Thank you very much.
yeah, penalty for
That's
Mr. Russell.
That was up there with I love scientists commenting Qatar. My dad would be fast around here.
Yeah.
It's one of those like that. I just love stuff like that.
And obviously, Max just managing to show off 360 the car. And
It's not the first time this year he's done that.
And still get pulled. No, I know it's not.
That's just him checking there's nobody behind him. Don't forget the mirrors are shy on these cars.
I mean, yeah, he had a moment like it could have been a bit more nastier, but the Red Bull sometimes seems quite solid, but then for some reason just at quarter seemed quite affected by the wind. Whereas it hadn't been that way normally, but maybe it was because they were riding it a little bit higher.
Yeah, it's possible. As you say, we're going to come into that in the race again, but there was...
And obviously we got the sprint race. Now, there's going to be a bit of a debate here but I know exactly what your answer is going to be to it. Turn 1, they get away. Turn 1, Hamilton, off track, and gained an advantage, but nothing was done about it.
Yeah, like we had a bit of a talk about this before we came on air, folks, just to full disclosure. My personal opinion, turn 1, you've got to give a little bit of leeway.
Oh, we know that.
So in my opinion, it's as long as it's nothing ridiculously blatant, I'm willing to let a bit of turn 1 shit fly.
And
to me, what happened there, I mean, you had bigger issues with Piastri and Ocon meeting.
That was the race.
That was the race, yeah. Wasn't it Russell during the sprint, not Hamilton? Then that's where you confused me. I'm pretty sure it was Russell did it in the sprint, Hamilton did it in the race.
It's alright, yeah, it was. Sorry,
that's why I mentioned race, because you
you
sort of threw me a curveball when you said Hamilton.
The reason why I did throw you a curveball is because I'm looking at my notes and I put that bit in the wrong section of my notes.
Yeah, it was Russell. Basically, both did the exact same move.
But Russell got a 5-second time penalty.
No, he didn't. There was no further action on it.
Well, what the hell did Russell get his 5 second for then?
Oh, what was it? Give me a second.
Russell did get a 5-second time penalty.
Yeah, it wasn't for that.
No. But I can't remember why.
Hang on, please hold caller.
Because I'm slightly confused now. Because I did put it down and I cannot remember because...
For leaving the track and gaining an advantage, but it wasn't that. It must have been... I think it was just for racking up penalties, just for racking up.
Yeah. Corner cuttings, just track limits or something.
Yeah.
I mean... Where's... Russell and Guan Yu Zhou received 5-second time penalties for leaving the track and gaining advantage. So Guan Yu Zhou got it as well.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
Which I missed. Because otherwise I would have put that down.
I'm just checking now.
According to the results page, it was Guan Yu Zhou as well.
Yeah.
But I'd have to say the sprint race was probably better than the actual race.
Mm.
Okay, Max won it.
Russell got it based on this with Piastri. What's that?
What was that for? Sprint?
Yeah, it was on lap 2.
Right, okay. I think I may have missed that. Or I was paying attention. But
honestly, I'm having to look this up. I'm literally reading the race report on the F1 website.
Yeah.
Because I know they said at the time there was no action on the first corner.
This is what I mean. When a lot of stuff gets chucked at you, folks, a lot of stuff during sprint weekends, there's a lot to take in.
Oh, yeah.
And it isn't always easy to do it. And yeah, this is what's happening. This is why we're having to sort of kind of recap ourselves a little bit, because there's a lot going on. Especially when you get breaking news at like 1:40 a.m. in the morning, which we'll get into. I'm just teasing that.
I didn't read it at 1:48 in the morning. I read it when I got up because I have a job.
But that image, so I sent obviously Dave and Alan an image privately.
Don't like that, folks.
No. Of a certain results page on the official site that had one result on it that was confirmed. The rest wiped. And we'll get onto that. So somebody was scrambling early hours trying to get that sorted.
Oh, yeah. But do you not see some of the teams brilliantly edited end of race images? I think Williams one I caught a glimpse of where they literally just scribbled out and put the new numbers in. Which I give them credit. I thought was actually quite genius in the situation.
Yeah. So that was it for the sprint, really. Apart from, you had the likes of Max. Max won the sprint. Hamilton, Alan may still get points for that. And obviously Leclerc in third. And Lando coming yet again close, but no cigar. But he managed to beat Perez.
Yeah.
Now I'll come on to Perez. Right, well, in a minute. So, to begin with on the race, we had Stroll, Alonso, Kevin Magnussen, and Hulkenberg required to start from the pit lane after their cars were modified.
Well, they pulled the cars out of Park Fermi in order to make adjustments now. I mean, the likes of Alonso's car, they basically took all the upgrades off, didn't they?
Yeah, basically.
Put him back to the old spec car.
Yeah. And
which, pretty extreme.
Yeah. And Stroll was still running the
newer stuff.
So, you get. So we got that, and it was like, ooh, to have 4 from the pit lane starting was like, wow, it must have been something, it must have been.
Well, the fact that it was 2 complete teams tells you that it was obviously just team decisions that they decided that they didn't like.
Yeah.
How the cars were set up. I mean, if it was 4 random cars, well, the fact that it was 2 complete teams just says that those teams
weren't happy.
made a decision. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is the double-edged sword of sprint weekends. I don't know your thoughts on it, but the fact we only get one practice session.
There's not enough setup time for them.
Yeah, but is that necessarily a bad thing? From a viewer's point of view, from a fan's point of view, we get to see these teams having to do far more thinking on their feet.
Yeah.
Once the race comes around, and I'm not entirely against that.
Oh yeah, that was it. I forgot to mention that. For the sprint, there was only one DNF, and that was Stroll.
Yeah. More brake issues, wasn't it?
Yeah. Which we'll basically getting on to now, anyways. With this discussion, and it's just, I kind of get why Aston Martin did it, and I kind of get why Haas did it, but if that's now the case, that cars can pull themselves out of park Fermi and do that, what was stopping the rest of the grid?
Nothing.
What's stopping the rest of the teams from doing that?
You're worried we're going to end up with a Lewis Hamilton at Hungary situation again?
What, one car on
Yeah.
the starting grid?
Yeah, one car on the grid. I mean, in theory, nothing other than
just
most of the time teams wouldn't want to, because if they all thought they were doing it, you guarantee one team wouldn't, and no team would want to give away the advantage.
And yeah, I'm gonna hate myself for saying this. We did not see the Red Bull this weekend as we would normally see it.
What do you mean?
Well, the Red Bull didn't really have the dominance.
I honestly think a lot of that is, and I don't think it's as sinister as you're trying to make out.
No, something's going on with that car. It's got to be. If Max was struggling with them brakes,
there's a little bit of just end of year shortage of parts, but honestly, I think a lot of what we saw today was simply, I think Red Bull are now foot off the gas this year, are coasting to the end. All their attention, all their resources are on 24.
Oh yeah, we know they're on 24. I mean,
So I think that's why I think what we saw is the other teams that are still working on this year's car, because let's be honest, there's still plenty of other places and prize money available.
I mean, you've got to think. I think, you've got 22 points at this moment separate Mercedes and Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I think that's what...
McLaren leapfrogged Aston Martin.
I think we're going to see a closing of the team towards the end of the season. Because I think Red Bull at this point, as much as they want to win every race, and they do, all their resources are now in 24.
Yeah. I mean, get this. 706 points Red Bull are on.
This is going to be close to a record for a team in a season.
And
I realise, as I say, that we have more races now than we ever did.
Oh, yeah, but, I mean, that's... If Red Bull... I mean, yeah, okay, the Constructors is done, the Drivers is done. But we have Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, and Abu Dhabi left.
Yeah.
Got Mexico this weekend.
This weekend. Literally, Brazil the weekend after.
Yeah.
I think we have a 1 week gap, then Vegas.
A week gap Vegas, and then...
Is it another week gap and then Abu?
I think it's a week and then Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, we finished by the end of November.
Let's see. So we've got 3. So we've got basically a triple header.
Yeah.
A week break, and then a double header. basically.
So it's back to back.
Yeah.
Right, but yeah, so the point stands, like, I don't think Red Bull are really pushing much. They're just running
Probably
out
not.
this year. Because there's no point.
No. And, so obviously,
But
going back to the start of the race,
start of the race, the Kota second place thing seems to still be a thing. And we saw it a little bit in the sprint. The second place at Kota seems to get a much better launch than first ever does.
Yeah. And obviously the Hamilton off track, first lap leniency. And then we had the little incident between Ocon and Piastri
Eventually led to both of their retirements.
with
Side pod damage, and quite severe one. Like I saw a shot of the Alpine, and it was quite a lot of damage. I never actually saw the side of the.
Well, I didn't see the McLaren, but I believe it punched a radiator.
Yeah,
So
because he had to basically coast the car back, didn't he? Because it overheated.
Yeah. So Ocon was the first one out. It didn't look much of a whack, though, did he?
Oh no, from the onboard view, they give a fair chunk of force.
No, but it didn't look much of a whack. But then, where did Ocon hit Oscar then?
Because it was wheel to side pod, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it was Oscar that hit Ocon.
Yeah, I think if one final forward, I think it'd be one car's back wheel went into the other's side pod, and the other's back wheel went into his side pod.
Ah. And then obviously we'll get the third DNF out, and that was Alonso due to suspension failure, which was quite a bit of a shame, really.
And it was a weird one, wasn't it? Because they were talking about it. He first said he thinks he's got a problem, and the team were going, "Oh well, we can't see anything."
Yeah.
And then they tried to say, "Oh yeah, you got floor damage," and they retired the car.
Mm.
I mean, when he said suspension failure, I was expecting it to suddenly cut to a shot of an Aston Martin on three wheels or something.
Yeah. But, well, we know what the suspension's like. Well, we don't know what the suspension's like in that car because we've never driven one, but we know what the design is of the suspension.
Yeah. F1 car suspension is weird because there's times when you can seem to take massive impacts. The Oscar Ocon incident.
Yeah.
And survive, and yet he's getting the gentlest tap other times and just falls apart.
Yeah. And it's just like, what's going on with that. But we know it just seems to be the way they're designed.
Yeah, it's unusual, but it's for entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, the race sort of in general was.
Apart from a couple of little blips, I mean, I was going to say, you've got to say, as much as I don't like praising the guy, Hamilton and his team strategy calls seem to work for them. Because let's be honest, if Verstappen's brake issues have got any worse,
Oh, Hamilton.
He wasn't that far away in the end.
Hamilton wasn't that far.
So this is what I'm saying about having the different strategies in play.
He was what? 2.2?
Less than 2 seconds.
Was it less than 2?
Yeah, he got a little bit of Verstappen got a little bit of a save, didn't he? Because he met Danny Rick on the last lap and got DRS off him.
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't want to say it,
You might as well now.
but I was right.
That's a rarity.
I said it'd be a bad decision, didn't I, to chuck Lawson out and bring Danny back?
I Have I ever disagreed with you on that one?
No. It's just, yeah, it just, like, that to me has just now proved, I said, let's see how he goes back on the first race.
And you're speaking as somebody who I believe is quite a fan of Danny Rick.
Yeah.
I mean, I have nothing against the guy, but yeah, I said right through that I didn't think bringing him back was the right choice.
I mean, okay, he got 12th in the sprint. Yeah. But for qualifying, even qualifying, he was 14th. He just wasn't anywhere. Okay, a lot of people will probably jump on me. Yes, okay, about his wrist and all this lot.
But if he's not at absolute 100%, why have him back in the car?
Yeah.
You may as well, if that's going to be the case, you may as well have had Lawson in a bit longer.
Yeah. I mean, Yuki just completely, Yuki just outshone him.
Especially with that last lap, let's throw the softs on and take the fastest lap.
But Yuki had enough of a gap
to get away with it, which
to
used to
do
be
it.
Max's old trick.
Yeah.
I've nothing against it. It's a trick that I've used in the game.
Oh, we know that.
But, it's a trick that I used to like doing if I was far enough ahead.
Yeah. But I just feel like, Danny's got the 2024 season ahead of him. They should have just... This really hurts to say this. They should have left him out of that car, let him recover, get him a bit more time on the sim, get his wrist and his hand and everything back up to strength.
No, I agree with you.
And just left Lawson in for the remainder.
I 100% agree. I think I've said that on a couple of podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was going to be no harm came from giving Lawson the rest of the season.
No.
Like I say, as we were discussing earlier about, like I said about winning to Williams, it's the experience.
Yeah. And it was just, I don't know. It just seemed to be not one of his finest moments. I know the thing, I know Danny likes Texas. I know that. But I just think people at AlphaTauri made the wrong decision.
I'm afraid I'm inclined to agree with you.
And, Lawson was at the track. I mean, inside he must have felt a bit peeved, but, there's not a lot.
He must be sat there thinking, well, he couldn't have probably done a lot worse.
He probably couldn't have done a lot worse, but he probably could have done a little bit better.
That's it,
Considering that. Okay, so Yuki. Right, Yuki finished 10th.
Well, that fastest lap for the bonus point.
Yeah, well, before the other thing we'll talk about, Yuki finished originally 10th. So. Okay, yes. That's still 5 places ahead of Danny.
Yeah. And yeah, Danny's supposed to be the experienced one.
Yeah, I know, like I said, people give me shit. Yes, Danny had the accident, but it was just... I like the guy, but I don't think it was a good choice. Bringing him back into the AlphaTauri. I know why they've done it, to give him the track time, give him the...
Well, I would if they're thinking of him as a Red Bull.
I can't see. I just...
Neither can I, but at the same time, he's probably their best option right now.
I know. That's the thing.
Because, as I've said to you, every other option they sort of have doesn't have enough experience, in my book, to go straight into the main car. Yuki, I don't think, has quite got it. I think we've covered this topic before, but...
Yeah. But, Yuki, the likes of poaching bloody Albon back. I don't think Albon will go back. He didn't do
No.
great last time.
That Red Bull second seat is a difficult one, and many a driver has been scared away from it.
The only like I said, in regards to the second seat and regards of Checo, and we'll come on to him in a minute. I mean, I couldn't see Gasly there.
I don't think he'd want to. Well, no, he's now out of that ecosystem entirely, isn't he?
Yeah, but I couldn't have seen Gasly there, even when Gasly was at AlphaTauri. Even though Gasly was a bit like what Yuki's doing now, driving the absolute nuts off the car.
It was his Gasly when he managed to get a win with it.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong, there was probably a better AlphaTauri back then, but at the same time, he was scoring points pretty consistently, and
he was always up top 5, top 6. He was in top 10 at least.
Yeah. Without the aid of penalties.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm swayed across, Lando in the second. Lando in the second seat.
Yeah. I mean, 100% yeah, if they could buy him out of that McLaren contract, whatever that would cost them.
Yeah. As long as they're...
However, I'm not... The only potential thing with that I see would purely be because Lando would know that doing that, he wouldn't be able to... He'd be going in as a second driver.
Yeah, I know, but Lando and Max are friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, friends off the track.
Yeah.
When the helmet goes on, things change.
Yeah, but...
But I'm not sure how Lando would take to being told, basically being the second driver, because right now he's number 1 at McLaren.
Well, think about it. We'll go back. Let's quickly go back to the previous race. Lando's comment over the radio.
I've been told to hold back for Oscar. That's what I'm saying.
And what was his comment? Why? Why is that? And it was
where Red Bull you wouldn't get the chance, you wouldn't get that choice.
No, but it was quite a sarcastic answer back. The way it was like, why is that? Sort of, it wasn't in his normal Lando tone, and you could hear that in his voice.
Yeah, because like I say, he's been number 1 of that team for quite a few years now. Probably since in fact, even a little bit that last year that Danny Rick was there, I think Lando was sort of very much being pushed to the top of the...
Yeah.
In the same way that I commented about, we've now got this power struggle at Mercedes. We had the same there, and I think Lando won it.
Yeah.
Hence why Danny left.
Yeah, but Danny was pushed. I mean, okay, I still... I kind of want to take back my comments about Oscar from last year.
No, I will still stand by the way he conducted that piece of business.
No. The way I said, I don't think he'll be... I didn't think it was a good choice for McLaren. I did say I don't think it's a good choice. I take that back. I don't take back the way he condoned the whole
he conducted that piece of business.
Where he conducted the whole Alpine situation. That I don't take back, but I take back the whole him not being a good choice, and that is not because of his sprint wins and all this lot.
His general performance has been top notch.
Exactly. So yeah, I take back what I've said about that, but I don't take back the way the Alpine stuff. I mean, okay, he got unlucky with the Ocon. That was a case of too many cars in one place and shit. Shit just went down.
That's it. It's not like he... The worst you can give him there is a 50-50.
Yeah.
It's not like he's thrown the car at a barrier.
No. You know, it was a case of probably it's a bit like the whole Perez free wide incident of like Perez being
Qatar, yeah,
yeah.
wasn't his fault. Couldn't really blame him. The only thing he could have done differently is not been there.
Yeah. But where Oscar kind of everybody was just battling, and considering where Oscar was on the grid, where was he? With Perez again. Behind Perez, Yuki, and all that lot, he was in that sort of group. He didn't really have much choice. If he backed out, he was.
Oh, you can't back out. You can't back out. You back out too hard at the start, you just get cast straight with your backside.
Well, this is what I mean. If he'd have backed out, he'd have had an AlphaTauri up his backside, possibly 2 Alfa Romeos up his backside, and maybe a Williams. So it didn't. It was just one of them incidents. Now, the Mexicans were out in force at quarter, I believe.
You noticed that, did
you?
Well, we all know. Look at the follow. I mean, next week. I mean, I love Mexico as a place. I've been there.
Never been.
Oh, it's well worth. It's a long flight, 12-hour flight, but it's well worth a visit. But anyway, the point I was gonna make is they're passionate people, and they really are passionate about the boy Perez.
We know.
And I think the run of form, and with all the comments, and you yourself have sat here and talked about the comments made against him, I think there was just a little bit of a show of
solidarity.
People still believe in him.
Yeah.
Which I fully believe if he can get his head sorted out. I still fully believe in the talent he has as a driver.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. He's a good driver.
I don't know where it's gone right now. But
yeah, this is what I mean. Don't get me wrong. He's a good driver. He's shown that. I mean, you can go back.
God, I still feel like I have talked him into that Red Bull seat.
I know.
Because all them podcasts leading up to there, I was like, when we realised there was going to be an empty Red Bull seat coming, and he was going to be out of drive because Vettel at the time got announced as
Aston Martin.
Aston. I was there going, he'd be your one.
Yeah. And then he gets
Horner, if you're listening, it's about 15% admin fee I charge. It's not much. Hit me up.
It was just like.
I'll check my email later, Christian. Watch this. I'll get an email from me called Christian later, and he'll scare the shit out of me.
But
you're probably signing up a fake email as Christian Horner as we speak.
I wish. No, I don't. I don't wish to impersonate anybody and get myself into trouble.
But yeah,
the one thing I do want for next week is Helmut Marko not to kind of be there and then never leave.
You mean all those like Carnival of the Dead masks? You're thinking there was like an ominous sign, are you?
But going back,
I'd love to get out to a Mexican Grand Prix.
But going back to Perez, unfortunately there are rumors flying around that perhaps his time is running out. But
I mean, as it stands, he's still contracted for next year.
He's contracted for next year, but
now we know Red Bull aren't afraid of the they're about the only team who ever do mid-season driver changes.
Yeah, which I don't want to see that happen next year.
No, I'm not a fan of that at all. I don't even like it in the game when it gives you the option halfway through a season.
No.
I'm sorry, you give some. I mean, I still kind of think they did De Vries a little dirty. He didn't get a lot of time in my book.
I know they did De Vries dirty.
I understand you want results, 100%. That's why everybody's on that grid. But I've said it before, with the lack of testing time that young drivers are allowed these days, you can't just give them a dozen races and then say, well, they're clearly not good enough.
Yeah, but that is down.
I mean, look, it took Oscar half the season and a major car upgrade.
Yeah.
To be where he is. Sargent got his first points this weekend. Okay, it was there's a little bit of luck involved.
Yeah, a little bit of luck, yeah.
But Shall we come on to that little bit of topic? I think that's where we're aiming towards. As you said, the big news that we all woke up to this morning.
I was still awake when this news broke.
No, I wasn't.
I know you weren't.
But I was up at, 20 to 5 for work, so I have a valid excuse.
So, as the race ran, as you know, or as you may not know. But if you didn't, you missed some good news.
Unless you're Alan, who at this point has thrown something at his podcast machine.
Probably. And
I will say, I did see, wasn't long after the end of the race, an FIA technical document went round saying that 2 cars had been referred to the stewards.
yeah,
Now, I remember reading it at the time as 44 and 16, and in my head I assumed it was the 2 Mercedes. I forgot Russell is 63, not 16, isn't he?
Russell 63. Yeah.
I read it as 16, and I thought the 2 Mercs. I thought, well, Merc have screwed a setup up somewhere. It wasn't until I got up this morning that I learned.
Yeah. So it was car number 44, as you know, as Lewis Hamilton, and car number 16, as you know, as Charles Leclerc. So originally it was the original race result was Max Hamilton and Norris.
And Leclerc was 6th, wasn't he?
Yes.
See, I was paying attention.
And that all changed at about 1:40 a.m. UK time. I don't know the local time over there.
No, I couldn't tell you that one.
We had breaking news that Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc got disqualified.
Because the cars, was it excessive? It was excessive wear on the undercarriage, wasn't it?
The cars, it was for the technical infringement of plank wear irregulations.
Irregularities.
Yeah. So basically, let's not go too technical with it.
Yeah, because to be perfectly honest, while I get the gist, I don't fully understand the minute details.
Under the floor of the car, there is a plank. It's what's known as a plank, but it's not a wooden plank. It is made out of a certain material. I don't know what.
Titanium rather than the skid plates, aren't they?
With it, I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure the skid plate, certainly the skid plates, I'm pretty sure titanium.
It's something. That's where you get the sparks. And due to what they were saying, due to the bumpiness of the track, the sprint weekend, and having all that, it wore the plank down to lower than the minimum. And I can't remember what the minimum is.
I don't know numbers. I don't think if people want to know numbers, I'm sure it's ready available either online or in news articles. Basically, it's a rule that every car has to follow, and
it's been a
as
rule,
far as we're aware,
it's
18 out of 20 cars managed it.
Yeah, it's a rule that's been in there at least 1994. I think it's about 1994. It's been in since, because Michael Schumacher got disqualified for the same thing.
So yes, it's not exactly a new one for this year then.
No. And sorry, but all the Hamilton fans are completely up in arms.
Yeah, but they're always up in arms if, they actually enforce the rules on him.
There was I can't. I'd seen the article, and obviously it resulted in a lot of people
Well, basically, you think
moving up,
Leclerc was second, so everybody
moved
from
up.
second up was moved up at least one place. Everyone behind 6 moved up 2 places.
Yeah. Which
Don't call me a witch.
I mean, fair play to Lando though, because he got driver of the day.
Which I think deserved to an extent. Maybe there was probably a couple of more standout drives out there, but certainly he did what he needed to do and probably got the best he could out of the car that day.
And
then got handed a reprieve.
That's one thing I didn't see, and I'm glad I didn't.
What's that?
I didn't realise Mr. Musk was there again.
Oh yeah, he was in the Mercedes garage. Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I didn't realise that.
Oh no, I remember he cut to a shot of him, and I'm guessing
his kid.
The kid Pythagoras or whatever it's called.
I don't know. I know it's his kid.
It's AEXAC.
Yeah. It's a strange name. To call
Yes,
it.
Deadly Dark Sheep.
No, but it's a strange.
No, I know. I was taking the piece.
Name for a calling a child.
It sounds like the kind of name you'd give to like a toaster.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'm going to say, I thought we were past all that crap.
Oh, what crap.
The podium.
No, this is America.
Did you hear the boos?
Oh, yeah, yeah. If you're the kind of person who goes to that and boos, grow the fuck up.
And it was then...
I know you don't like the language podcast, I'm sorry, but I think that one deserves it.
Oh no, this podcast always gets marked as expletive. You know that, because especially when I start.
But yeah, 100%.
There was no need.
I get that people dislike Red Bull Verstappen and what's happening. I get that. I'm not the biggest Red Bull fan. However, to boo him is just childish.
Yeah, there was boos, but then they were chanting Checo over the national anthems. When the Dutch national anthem was played,
yeah,
they were chanting Checo over it. And the Austrian national anthem. There was basically Checo was being chanted over that. And it's like, and just because, like, and some of it was because Hamilton was on the podium as well. The boos as well. But it was the boo, when Hamilton got his trophy, when Max received his trophy, there was a lot of boos.
Oh, yeah.
When Hamilton got his trophy, there was a lot of cheers from the same set of fans that were booing. It's just like, I mean, grow a fucking pair, for Christ's sake.
Not worth the time and the wasted breath, mate.
No.
We all know it's wrong. Just people who are that immature they're not true fans, so they're not going to be listening to this.
No. And it's just, it infuriates me. Okay, yeah, I like Checo. Yes, there was a lot of Mexican people there supporting Checo. But just because Checo didn't there was no need to boo another driver. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are sat in that bastard car, hurtling round tracks for your entertainment while you're sat there watching them.
Correct.
You know, okay, if you want to go boo, go watch football. Oh, sorry, soccer.
I thought you were going to say
match.
go and see Helmet.
Oh, wow. But
So that'd be your solution to that.
But okay, you know, Perez, what did he get out of that? Fourth? No. First. Lando second. Yeah, he got fourth out of that. Good result for him. Granted, you know, he was... What was he? Fifth? No. Was he fifth? He was fifth, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm sorry, but if Max wins at Mexico, there's going to be boos again. There's going to be absolute outrage from the Mexican fans. I can see it happening.
It's not right.
It just... I mean, I watched the media pen as well with a Max interview. I don't know if you've seen it. It is circulating on like Twitter and Facebook and stuff.
I didn't.
He was asked about the boos. And you know what he said?
Go on.
I don't care. I'm the one that gets to take the trophy home with me.
Well, that's the thing. In a lot of ways, I think he's the kind of person who's just... The more they boo him, the more he's going to want to just...
Piss him off.
do better.
Yeah.
I get the impression that that's his attitude. If they're going to boo him, that's it. He's just going to knuckle down on it.
Yeah. Because, you know, at the end of the day, what's the booing going to achieve for Checo? Not a lot. Because
I bet even Checo doesn't like it.
No, I bet Checo's probably pissed at it.
That's the thing. Even he won't be there thinking, yeah, that's great, because he knows that all he does is make people turn against him and the Mexican people and his fans.
Yeah. You know, okay. You know, Checo's way behind in the driver's standings. Checo is still fighting to stay second. But there's nothing Checo can do now. It's done.
Well, there is. Perform.
Yeah, but...
To keep second.
Yeah, well, that's what... Yeah, well, yeah, but there's nothing he can do to win anymore. You know, there's no title there anymore. It's been done. You know, drivers has been done. Constructors has been done.
He did play his part in constructors, and albeit little, because I think Verstappen basically won it on his own, but still, he did play a part in the constructors.
Yeah.
Because that points haul for the constructors includes both of them.
Oh, yeah. All 706 of them.
Yeah, insane.
It's just... I mean, Ferrari.
Ferrari once again managed to do a beautiful job of clutching defeat from the jaws of victory. They're good at that. Ferrari's monkey strategies were back out this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Did they have the alphabet book of strategies this weekend?
I don't know, whatever book they had, they were reading it backwards.
Oh my god, they were just, yeah. It's like...
But then to get disqualified, like poor Leclerc, and then to get disqualified on the end of it as well.
Yeah.
Christ, I bet he went home and kicked the cat.
I bet he wasn't happy.
I mean, quite a few French expletives coming out of that garage, I bet.
From who?
From Leclerc.
Leclerc or bloody... What do you call him? Vasseur.
I suppose at least you could both insult in French, and at least another good chance they'd be the only two that understand it.
Well, really. And it's just like, you know, to some... I mean, the one surviving Alpine did well. Stroll, I'm sorry, but yes, you got some points, but you just need to go bye-bye. I'm done with him. I'm just...
He's not after showing some level of back in the Force India days, he actually did show a little bit of. I must admit, I was a big thought when he first came in that it was a daddy's money job, and he actually proved us wrong. I don't
Yeah.
think he ever got quite as far as a win, did he? But he had some quite good results back in the early Force India days.
He's had wins in the lower discipline, but then yeah.
Back in the time when Checo drove for them, and that Force India was quite commonly the third car on the lineup.
Yeah, and Checo going from stupid position to winning, or
Bahrain out of loop. No, but don't forget, he started high up, got crashed into at the first corner, had to pit for a front wing, ended up last and went on to win it.
Yeah.
That's. But yeah, for Stroll, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe he's suffering a little bit the same as Perez. That he's trying hard to match Alonso.
Yeah, but
that's just a very tall order.
Yeah, but he can't. Honestly, he can't do it.
No, I agree with you. I just don't think he's got. Which is why whenever we've talked about like future Merc drivers, I've never included him because I don't think he's ever. Consider him as being in the Merc ecosystem.
I mean, okay.
I don't think he's top car.
To begin with, when the Aston Martin was looking stronger, he wasn't doing so bad.
And even then, he was still being blitzed by Fernando.
Well, yeah, obviously. And then it was just a case of just something went wrong for him. I mean, his driving style as a whole is borderline.
The Aston Martin seasons started off strong and then seems to have fizzled out.
Yeah.
I think he's a large part of it now. I think what you're then seeing as a result is Alonso's doing what Albon's doing with the Williams.
Yeah.
He can create magic. Stroll sadly does not have that ability now. Maybe with more experience, I don't know. I actually doubt it if I'm being honest, but I have been wrong in the past.
Yeah, but Stroll's driving style has been borderline. There's been incidents where with Stroll that have been questionable.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just basically, like you say, bye-bye Stroll.
I say that would be me. Stroll out, Mick in that seat. Yeah. Convince Alonso to stay for a couple of years.
Help Mick.
Bring Mick up to speed, impart that wisdom, that experience. And like I say, 2 years down the line, Hamilton goes off to that electric Dakar thing that he was playing with.
Yeah.
And we get Mick Schumacher backing up George Russell.
Yeah. Williams had an okay race.
Williams had because Williams handed double points. I say Logan Sargent gets his first points on his home soil. Not the way you'd want to get it. I agree,
off the back end of a DSQ, yeah.
Hey, the scorecard doesn't say how you got him.
No. But
the scorecard doesn't have an asterisk next to it and say only because other cars got disqualified. He got points.
I know he got points. But that means now there's only one driver on the grid that needs to score.
Danny.
Because Lawson scored 2. Logan Sargent...
Yuki's now scored about 4.
Logan Sargent has 1. Yuki has 8.
8? Blooming hell.
Guan Yu Zhou has 6. K-Mag has 3. Danny is now
Yeah.
because Nick De Vries now can't score any points.
It's all on Danny.
Danny is the only one now still on 0 points.
Do you reckon he's got it in him by the end of the season?
No.
That's going from a Danny Rick fan. That's
No. I'm like I say, I'm a Danny Rick fan, but no. I just think he's come back too early.
I'm not sure if he's coming back at all. Too early. I'm not sure if it was ever going to be in the same way that when Schumacher came back. You see, just with the exception of Alonso,
Yeah.
it seems to be a very difficult road to travel.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Alonso. When Alonso come back, I was thinking, oh, okay.
Yeah, I did. I had visions of Schumacher's return in the Merc.
Yeah. But no, Alonso's just, I don't know, something's just seemed to have clicked with Alonso.
But
and
yeah,
honestly,
we'll see. With 4 races left here, you never know. Danny, I think if Danny does get a point, he's going to maybe slotch 1. We're not going to be talking an amazing, he wins. He might get lucky with a couple of DNFs and get a point.
Yeah. I mean, Vegas will be the big test.
I think about Vegas is it's another massive leveler. Because none of these guys have driven that track.
Apart from simulations.
None of them have actually been out there.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Apart from the simulations, they've not. Well, Checo and was it Hamilton?
The thing is, the track has not yet been properly sealed off the way it will be on a race weekend.
No, but when they were messing around on the surface on the strip,
It's still not the same.
no, but it gives them a rough idea of surface.
No pun intended.
You know, them flying down a bit of the Vegas Strip near where they're actually the track is, or what is going to be on the track. It gives them a bit of an idea of what it feels like. But
I still don't think there's a huge amount you can translate the actual.
No, I know, but it was, you know what I mean? Just the only example I could give. Because apart from, like we say, simulation work, nobody's driven it. And yeah, I mean, okay. What was your overall thoughts of this weekend?
Like I say, not the most interesting, and it goes back to I think I've said before, I'm never a big fan of races that get decided in the steward's office. I'm not the biggest fan of we wake up to find the results all changed. I'd like to turn the TV off after a race to think I've seen the race. You get what I mean?
Yeah, but unfortunately we didn't. If we were to be able to predict the fact that Hamilton and Leclerc were going to get disqualified because of ride height or plank wear, I still think it was ride height. I think they'd both slightly dip their cars a little bit low.
Possible, but other than that, say not the most exciting. COTA is a circuit that I have mixed opinions of. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It has its moments, but I don't think it was the right circuit for a sprint.
No.
We'll have to do it. For the last one, we'll have to start think which circuits do you want sprints at. I'm not going to put it in tonight, but for future.
No. Yeah, no. For the last one of the season, we will.
But other than that, as I said, gutted for Norris. So near yet so far again.
Norris knew, though, even when he was leading, there was no chance of holding that he could have held that Red Bull off, but then what favours would it have done? Because it would have brought
Just slowed them both down and brought Hamilton and
yeah.
the Ferrari. It's like, no, I agree.
He
Norris got
knew.
the best he could out that weekend, and
Yeah,
then he got gifted a little bit extra
well, that's the thing.
for his trouble.
Norris was probably told, look, you may want to fight Max. Your fight isn't with Max. Your fight is to keep.
As you say, they managed to leapfrog Aston Martin this weekend.
Yeah.
Which has always been what they were pushing for.
Yeah. And their fight is with Aston Martin and all that lot. And it is what it is. I mean, on to Mexico, really?
Well, see, you got any thoughts? You got any pearls of wisdom?
There was no safety cars.
There wasn't even really a yellow flag, was there?
No. Not really. I hate to say it, but I like it when the safety car gets involved in races.
I was just thinking that towards the end of it, when like Max was having them brake issues, I was thinking to set the safety car now and push the field together.
He's screwed.
Well, not necessarily screwed. No, I wouldn't. But it would just have added a little bit of spice, a little bit of. I mean, I'm not advocating competition safety cars. I don't want my name put in behind that one. Something touring cars did try a good few years ago. With so many laps to go, they would bring the safety car around just to bunch the field up.
Yeah, no.
I'm not advocating that.
No.
But I will say, the kind of races where you end up with 5 or 10 laps after a safety car can be some of the most fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Because I think did the last race not get safety? Did the last race get safety card?
Yeah, it did, didn't it? We had one.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah. I mean,
because of Hamilton and Russell.
Yeah, but that was earlier on.
Come on, never forget that. That moment's going to live rent-free in my head for a lot of years. Did you see that thing where if you go on Google Maps, look at the circuit, somebody's put a viewpoint of Lewis Hamilton's
tyres.
wheel?
Yeah. I mean, at least you'd be
And
glad.
another one that was like George and Russell's friendship.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you'd be glad to know, though, this upcoming weekend in Mexico is back to normal.
Yeah.
Practice 1 at 7:30. 11.
We have one more sprint left. Where is it? Abu Dhabi?
Brazil.
Brazil.
The last one is Brazil.
I was going to say, I know we have one more sprint left. I can't remember exactly where it was.
Yeah,
but...
Brazil. But Abu Dhabi and Vegas are just normal weekends. But no, it wasn't the best. It just petered out. You know what I mean? It just...
Yeah.
It got quite... It was boring.
And this is where you know yourself, it becomes hard work as an F1 fan because you get the old naysayers and you try and defend a race like that from them.
Yeah, it was... Started off well, and then just slowly started fizzling out. I mean, I'm probably going to upset a lot of our American listeners, but it just didn't... Yeah, it wasn't one of the best quarter races we've had.
No, wasn't. But roll on Mexico and see what it can.
Roll on Mexico. Roll on Brazil, the final sprint of the season. Roll on Vegas to see what such a shit show that's going to be.
Oh, you know how much I'm looking forward to that one.
I'm looking forward to it. For one reason. I want to see how many people end up in a wall. That sounds
how many people do your trick?
Well, it sounds quite sadistic, but I do want to see how much they have got on the simulator time of that track
Mhm.
compared to driving the real thing. And let's see where the mistakes are. Okay, we don't drive it a lot in game, but I think I've had a bit more track time than you.
Well, let's be honest. All I recall of driving the Vegas again, bouncing down the track on my nose. And you know what I'm referring to there.
Yeah. But Vegas, it doesn't look a complicated track, but it's quite a speedy track at some points. It's gonna be interesting to see that one. And then we've got the final of the usual Abu Dhabi. That's not obviously changed since they did the original change.
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi.
Well, Abu Dhabi concludes one of the most controversial moments in F1 history, so
Yeah, let's not go back.
He's always remembered for that.
Let's not go back to 2020.
Yeah, I think we probably already upset the Hamilton fans this episode. Let's not compound it.
Yeah, let's not. And yeah, just before we finish, I do want to just quickly say, anything we say is actually opinions. You know, it is our opinions. Then if you don't like what we say, then that's fair enough. But we do condone any action or hostility towards us as the presenters of this podcast. But on that bombshell, it's... Oh, yes, shit. No, one more thing.
Don't deny us.
Nearly forgot.
Don't deny us.
So, as you know, we run the fantasy league. When mine wants to actually decide to load.
Through the official F1, which is open to anybody.
Anybody.
I would say maybe for next year we should make a league that anybody can join.
Yeah, I think we will.
And that'd be an interesting one. You know, anybody listening who'd be interested, throw a team in a league with us and we'll see how we all do.
Yeah, I think that would be quite interesting to do. So, obviously... Oh, okay, guys. I have to Unfortunately, you will see that, but you won't see anything else. Whoops.
What have you just shown?
I had to re-sign in. So basically my email address I used got signed to Sean. But unfortunately...
Just blur it before you do that.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Just blur that, that's not big.
Oh, you son of a bitch! How? How? Oscar
you know
lost
what, did
you.
it? Hamilton, Verstappen starting 6th.
Yeah. Gotta say, because Oscar's lost you 20, so Oscar's gonna have lost me points and all.
But yeah, no, I didn't actually have a terrible. I actually salvaged that one a little bit.
You did, didn't you? And I mean, if I look at this...
You had Fernando, so you had 2 DNFs.
Yeah, but the problem is, are you gonna be able to get near on?
What am I? 100 and just shy 200 points off him, so it's doable. I'll be honest, you're catchable.
I know I'm friggin' catchable.
I mean, if you compare what Alan's final team got to me, if I can pull that kind of gap on you in a couple of races, I'll suddenly be right on top of you.
Which one did he... What was his final team?
Well, GTV only got 104 points.
Yeah, no, it's...
No, what I mean is
the one that you want to look at is the one that got 155. Yeah, so
Hamilton, Piastri, yeah.
How many points did he get for Hamilton?
-4. Because they lose 25 points for being disqualified.
So what he made up in the... Probably what he made up in the sprint he lost.
Maybe in the qualifying position and that, yeah. Lost it. That's what I'm saying. You look at Piastri. It's funny because he almost leveled himself out. He went for the DNF in the last race.
Yeah.
Because he lost 4 points for, I think, positions lost in the sprint, but he gained 4 points for everything else.
Well, he lost because he lost 5 points on
In positions, but gained
sprint.
5 points in qualifying position and race overtake. So those two actually zeroed each other out, but then lost the 20 for the DNF.
And then he got 4 on the race overtake.
Hmm.
Yeah, he kind of would have been even ish. And obviously Alonso lost me because he lost 1 position on the sprint. He had 4 overtakes within the sprint because he not classified minus a 20, but he had 8 overtakes in the race, so it didn't do, it didn't do as much damage really as it could have done. And obviously Max, got me there. Oh. And I'll say to you what I say to Alan. I don't want you to catching me.
Oh, I'd quite like to catch you.
Oh, I know you would, just to rub it in at the end of the season.
Would I do such a thing?
And I'm hoping we're still going to get access on the day that we do these.
We should do. I can't see him literally closing it down the day after the final.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I hope not, because I'd like to get the final
I'm pretty confident they
points. But as you can see, yeah, that's that. And
I know, I'm the greatest.
Yeah, you just I'm a little bit worried, I'll admit that. But anyways, we're gonna end this one here. Obviously, thank you to David for joining me.
Been a pleasure as always. Thank you to everyone listening. However you choose to listen. So great to have you all out there.
And yes, we will see you for the next one, which is Mexico. So until then,
Later, folks.
goodbye for now.